So Jacob, really great to have you here as our guest. Thanks so much for coming. For the sake of the students and whoever else might be listening, Jacob and I met like 25 years ago. We went to the same university, same accounting program, and just kind of stayed in touch.
That's right.
So you are a very successful entrepreneur. You're not an accountant anymore.
I would say I am like first rate among third rate entrepreneurs or something like that.
Yeah. You're like a actor among C actors.
I've been very, very blessed and been able to help change an industry and so forth. But yeah.
The purpose, as we discussed, of this interview is essentially to just get like students who are considering accounting or who are in accounting or just get excited about the major. Because for people like you, when you were a little kid and people asked you, what do you want to do when you grow up? You, without hesitation, you told them like, I want to be an accountant, right? That's what you... So
no, actually.
How did you come to...
I mean, I wanted to be an anesthesiologist from a young age until I spent some time in a cadaver lab, my first year in school and college. And I actually saw, there was a guy I knew who was an accounting major and he totally fit the stereotype, like slicked back hair. I think he even had a pocket protector, possibly. And I'm like,
solid.
That fits, and never even fathomed maybe studying accounting myself. So, well, I actually went to, before we met, I went to a junior college in Idaho that doesn't exist anymore, and they would put on these events where entrepreneurs would come and speak, and we always went to those. And I think both of us like had this desire to, it sounds crass, but to like make a lot of money someday. And we're like, let's go listen to these guys and maybe we can learn something. And one thing that we noticed as a pattern is almost all of them studied accounting in school. All of these entrepreneurs that were coming back and speaking. And we were both business management majors, general business management. Uh-huh. And at the same time, we switched majors on absolute faith. Not that we wanted to become an accountant, but that we wanted to be like those guys. On faith, we both changed majors after our first semester back of our second year in school to accounting and figured it out. And the rest is history. And he did pretty well too.
So you went through accounting, and after the graduation, you didn't start a company right away. You wanted to do something else.
Yeah, actually, I was originally planning to be like you. I planned to be an accounting professor.
You still can become like
yeah. And I worked as a research assistant and did all of that and took the classes, the econometrics and stuff that had nothing to do with accounting, planning to go. And I had an offer at the table with Deloitte about 18 months before graduation, because this was right after 9/11 and none of the firms were doing internships, summer internships, at least not for students at my level, I guess. So in lieu of an internship offer, they just gave me a full-time offer. So I had that on the table, although what I really wanted was to do an internship with them and then go on to my doctoral program. And so that offer kind of encouraged me to think, well, maybe I'll go get a couple years experience working for Deloitte and then go back and get a doctorate. And so that's the path I took. And I think it's a really important thing because when I graduated, a lot of my friends that were in the PhD prep track, including you, you went and worked for a firm first. A lot of them went straight on to a doctorate. So I went and worked for Deloitte for a couple of years, and this was right when Sarbanes-Oxley had gone into effect.
That was exciting times.
Yeah, it was great. So we learned all this stuff about how to audit companies, like to the extent that you learn it in school. And then we land, and my first client, we're doing a 404 audit, systems processes audit, which had nothing to do with anything really we had learned. I mean, you get like the COSO framework and stuff like that, but it was so foreign, and the firm didn't really know what they were doing because it was so new. The managers, it was just kind of chaos. So thrown into that, you're thrown in and going and talking to like the people down at the dock who are like receiving goods and
you're in the trenches.
You're in the trenches. You're learning about like the three-way match and like having to like workflow processes and like sketch it out on a blank piece of paper, talk to the guys in the stock room and all this stuff. And it was a really good experience. And kind of, even though you are studying accounting, you expect to be in spreadsheets or something all the time in an office. You're like boots on the ground and kind of getting your hands dirty and figuring out how does this company actually operate, right? How does this work? And I think that was really valuable experience for me later, not only progressing in my career in accounting, but also when I went to start my own company, just having that pragmatic knowledge. So that was really good that that timing worked out, and things were so messy and so forth. But yeah, I was planning on a traditional accounting career. Eventually I realized after a couple of years, I applied for some doctoral programs, and I realized that I really enjoyed doing business, and I want to see if I can do this. And so I ended up not. But once I realized that I wasn't going to go back to academia, I looked around and I was like, what am I doing in public accounting still? Because it's not uncommon for people to last as long as they can.
That was the point you decided, okay, I'm not, even though you got the offer, something in you said, I don't really want to go professor route. What happened?
So I actually accepted I accepted the offer to join the doctoral program at the University of Arizona, and it just didn't sit right with me. And it was one of the most difficult phone calls in my life to call Dan Dhaliwal up and say, I'm not coming. And but it was the right thing. And I realized that I needed to figure something else out. And I heard about a job opening through one of our clients, and started like inquiring about the job. And the guy who had left that job reached out of the blue. He had gone to work as the CFO of a software startup in Scottsdale in electronic medical records. And he said, forget about that. Just come work for me as my controller.
So you're working as a controller.
Yeah.
For this
private equity holding, Carlyle Group. They had gotten, 30 million invested, and the revenue was up to like maybe 7 million revenue. This is pre-SaaS, days. It was an enterprise software company that built electronic medical record solutions for big hospital systems. Like, I believe we were at the Oxford Hospital, Cambridge, so forth in the UK, mostly in the US and Canada. And they did context management and single sign-on. It was a bit messy. I got a chance to like clean up the accounting and the contracts and so forth. It was a good experience. So the experience of public accounting and coming into some chaos and figuring stuff out, which I really enjoyed.
So let me just recount. You had chaos at in public accounting because it was post-SOX. You had chaos as a controller, and you were saying it was a good experience.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Did your wife think the same thing?
It wasn't like my life is falling apart chaotic. It's like I'm coming into work and there's like chaotic stuff to organize, and that's really, it's kind of fun. Like,
but did that impact your work-life balance?
No.
I mean, it was just bad all the way along.
No, it was good. I had good work-life balance. No, I mean, all the way through, I had pretty good work-life balance. Even in public accounting during busy season, I mean, you work. But I will say, I mean, going to work for a public accounting firm, if you can land a position like that, is essentially getting paid to get another graduate degree. It is just absolutely the best thing you could do. And what I usually tell people is it's kind of like, those Hot Wheels tracks where you can like send a car down a track or whatever. And they have this thing, it's motorized. It's like these spinners. You put the car through that and it shoots it through the track. Going to work for a public accounting firm as an accounting major is like going through those spinners for your career. It shoots you way further ahead than you would have been. Yeah, exactly. Much better.
So you mentioned trucks, and we are coming up here to.
Okay, yeah. You want to talk about that?
How did you? So you work as a controller. How did you decide? You know what? I don't want to be a controller anymore.
Yeah. So I didn't mind being a controller. It was good, and I built a team to do the stuff. And I remember I would see the founder of that company, Carifex, walking through the hallways. He was like the senior sales guy, the rainmaker. And think, man, he's a founder. And
what company was that?
That was Carifex, the first company I went to work for after E&Y. And I never fathomed, I wanted to be like an entrepreneur, whatever, but I never fathomed that I actually could do it. And because there's just, I mean, the risk and the money it must take. And you really have to have the correct vision. And if you don't, then you just screw up your life and all this stuff. So I had a lot of respect just like seeing this guy, and I got to know him better, and he was a normal guy and so forth. Well, we grew Carifex to about 25 million in revenue, sold it off to L3 Harris, which is a Fortune 500 company, for about 155 million. And they gave me like a deal to stay around for at least a year, which is nice. One of the nice things about being on the accounting side is you're like the last one to get let go because you're like preparing the list, right? I mean, for what it's worth. And especially with these public companies, you end up like, they always want to have like bodies on the altar to sacrifice if you miss the quarterly earnings number or something like that. It's crazy. It's amazingly vicious. But stayed for a year, and that gave me a chance to look around. And I got a great offer to go work for Epic, which is this medical software company in Wisconsin. And actually accepted it. So I guess there's a pattern there. And they were going to wait for my golden handcuffs deal to expire so that I could go work for them. And in the meantime, I was introduced to this small software startup in Arizona that was also in the medical space called WebPT. And they were ambulatory EMR for rehab therapy. And one thing led to another, and I took a position with them instead, turned down Epic. So it was less money and less title than I had at this Fortune 500 company. Job. Yeah, it's great. But I really liked having equity in Carifex because they gave me stock options, right? And so when that original exit happened, I got some money out of it and shoved it into savings. And I thought, you know what, that was pretty good. I want to see if I can do that again. And not just for the money, but also that creative process of coming into chaos and figuring stuff out. You're bound to make mistakes along the way. So I kind of wanted to see, can I do this again and not repeat some of the same mistakes? I bet I could do it even better this time.
Interesting. So something clicked inside that you felt like, I mean, money is nice because it's sort of the world tells you,
and it's security,
you're valued, and it's security. Yeah. It has a lot of, but it sounds like something there besides money just clicked, and you are like, you know, I like this creative part and being rewarded for my work, for my contributions. Like, what was it exactly?
Correct. I think it boils down to, as humans, we're craftsmen, right? And we want to fix things and make them better and improve them, generally speaking.
And see the results of it.
And have a direct impact on what's happening. Exactly. And had I gone to Epic, for example, and I flew out there and I talked to the former CFO and talked about some of my ideas, because I had some ideas on how medical records should work, right? And he's like, look, we're not going to mess with the secret sauce. And it kind of became clear there that I wouldn't have a direct impact like you're talking about. And the company that bought us, L3Harris, I became just this cog in the wheel. And granted, I was just waiting out a agreement, but I really enjoyed having a direct impact on the success of the company. And you kind of only get that usually either you're at the top of the company, regardless of the size. If it's a small company, that's where you're most likely to have the direct impact, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's the main drive. And the money is part of it too. I mean, I grew up, my dad was a school teacher, mom was a stay-at-home mom, so we didn't have a lot of money, like a bunch of kids. And I believe the friend of mine who switched to an accounting major with me came from a more like affluent background, a lot more affluent. But for me, the money is nice from a security standpoint. Like growing up poor, you really feel that, right?
Yeah, so. But then there's also so much risk with entrepreneurship, because you could make a lot of money, but you hear all these statistics, right? 90% of startups fail. So
right.
How did you have an idea doing all this nonlinear stuff and growing and learning, and then suddenly, you know what? I'm just going to risk it all and start a company.
Okay, look,
unrelated industry.
I started to have ideas of wanting to start something. And a lot of this was actually inspired by the CEO of that first company, Carifex, who he was kind enough to have some lengthy conversations with me about like my career goals and so forth. And that kind of gave me the confidence that maybe I could pull something off. And my original ideas were in the electronic medical record space, because that's where I had been. Naturally. And I was going to work for this WebPT company. So I would read white papers and so forth. And I was working on a project on the side. There was a developer, and actually some of the people from Carifex were involved too. So
you were on your own, you were reading white papers, not just for your work, but just thinking, where's there opportunity to close gaps, solve problems?
Yes, correct. See, what happened was, when we sold that company, Carifex, I had the opportunity to install a deputy to me, who somebody actually worked with at Deloitte, who was able to take over a lot of the controller duties from me and help run the team. And that freed me up to get involved more on the product side. So in that final year where I was writing out the contract, I was able to get more and more involved on product. And it was just very interesting, right? The product side of things. So yeah, I started to have these ideas. What people don't talk about is like, I guess successful entrepreneurs, it's very unlikely that like their successful idea was their first idea. So it's not unusual to have like, I pursued this idea and hit a brick wall. All right. Pursued this one, it fizzled out. It just didn't work. So by the time you come up with an idea that ends up working, it easily could have been another one of those. It's just that you never hit the brick wall.
Interesting.
You just keep going.
How many ideas have you gone through until you didn't hit the brick wall?
Honestly, it was iterations of the medical stuff. And that's still where my heart is. Like, I believe it's gotten better. And ironically, Epic has become the dominant player. But I believe in my heart that things could be so much better in the healthcare system. And I just don't know if I have the energy to do it now at this point. But it's mostly healthcare related. And it was that thing, the desire to do the healthcare thing and thinking through different ways to solve the problem, that was actually the genesis of Fullbay, the software company that I did eventually found and took off.
So tell us, how did you get to that Fullbay point?
Yeah, so the origin story at WebPT was that it's this boyfriend and girlfriend dating each other. She's a physical therapist. He's a software developer, right? And she's complaining that she can't find good software for her practice. I believe she actually managed multiple practice locations. So he's like, I just sold a company. I've got some time. I'll demo software for you and I'll find you the best software that's out there. I can help you with this. After demoing what was out there, he realized there was nothing good. So he's like, man, let's just build this, right? And that was the genesis of this WebPT company, right? So hearing that story, it got me thinking, number one, I knew these people and like, they're really smart people and so forth, but they're humans. Like, okay, founders are human and so forth. And I got to know the CareFX founder, but also I had a friend who had a truck shop, which is not like pickup trucks, but like semi trucks, where dump trucks, semi trucks, basically large commercial vehicles where they go to get fixed is not the same shop where you and I would take our car to get fixed. It turns out it's a completely different business.
I learned that by owning an RV.
Yes, exactly.
Get that thing fixed anywhere.
You get to know the much higher labor rates of these repair shops and so forth. So I had no clue about this. And when I first met him, he explained the business model and so forth. And years later, because we stayed in touch, he was complaining about not being able to find good software for his shop. And I was like, oh, okay, all right. And he's like,
and you were processing medical ideas at this time.
I was processing medical ideas. And I got the idea, because one of the problems of doing a medical record startup is you run into HIPAA issues. So where there's very stringent regulations about data protection related to HIPAA.
Highly regulated industry.
It is, yeah. And I understood it and so forth. I hit upon this idea of why not take some of the best ideas that, by the way, are not seeing the light of day in the medical space. In 2009, we had the High Tech Act as part of the stimulus bill right after President Obama was elected that funded electronic medical record adoption across the country. It introduced this concept of meaningful use, and there became this rush to adopt something. And that's where the incumbent players were basically printing money because everyone was going and just buying them. And that's where Epic and Cerner got really big. But as a byproduct of that, a lot of the innovation got quashed. So the industry was already maybe a decade behind on technology, and that set it behind maybe another 5 years because it was just a rush to adopt the status quo, essentially. So there were a lot of good ideas that I was reading in those white papers that were not seeing the light of day in the medical record space and perhaps still haven't. And that bothered me. And so I got this idea, why not take those ideas, some of the best ideas, including the ones that aren't seeing the light of day in the medical space, and apply them to truck repair. So essentially create a medical record for trucks and commercial heavy equipment.
Interesting.
That was the idea.
Now we're connecting everything that you've done in medical field, all the white papers you read, they actually didn't get lost. That those insights weren't useless because then you morphed them into something completely different. Where did you get those? Where did you get those white papers? Is there like a depository of here are the unused ideas?
It was a gentleman at CareFX. His name was Eric Leader. He was the head of product there, and he was kind enough to kind of take me under his wing and show me he passed white papers on to me. And he had the same view of the industry, that there's a lot that can still be done that's not being done. So yeah,
But you can search for white papers for specific industries.
you can. Yeah, I know you're asking this rhetorically because I know you know the answer. Yeah, of course. And not only that, there's AI tools that will help you get non-hallucinated academic papers and help you, form, so empirical study support or white paper support for your ideas. So yeah, absolutely, it's huge.
So you were reading both
on-top
white
resource.
papers from the industry and academic papers.
Yes, I was. I had a little notebook. I would print them out. I would make notes on the paper itself. I'd write my own notes on blank sheets inside the notebook, and I would carry that around with me. And yeah, I had a desire to do something, to impact something. It wasn't a money motivation either. It was a motivation to change and improve the healthcare industry. So,
and see that you directly affecting
yes,
that improvement.
Yeah,
so you're standing in the shower, and suddenly all of these ideas, like, oh my gosh, that's what I could do. Is that how it happened? What?
No, it's an evolution. So he, was willing to start meeting. So I would go over 6 a.m. every day and to his shop and just learn.
So this was before normal work?
Before normal work. Yeah. I still had a job. I had a family and I was the sole income provider. So I wanted to do, obviously I have to keep my job. And by the way, I think, I've always, and I think prudent people do this as well. You always need to have something on the back burner, right? Because you never know what's going to happen.
A plan B.
You always have to have a plan B. Exactly. So there's no way I'm quitting my job to just now start developing the idea for this. I'm going to quit my job once I know for sure this is happening. And in fact, when I was in college, I took an entrepreneurship class that was taught by this billionaire entrepreneur there. And he would teach this class once a year. And he said the most conservative people he knows, like risk averse people that he knows. Well, basically the way he said it was, the most successful entrepreneurs he knows are also the most risk averse people he knows.
Interesting.
And they're successful because they do their homework and they do the work to eliminate the risk. And if they end up finding a large risk there that is untenable, then they don't do that thing, right? So the way you find success is making sure it's not going to fail. And it's not rolling the dice.
You're breaking people's priors, because I think people typically think entrepreneurs are the most risk-seeking.
Look, it's possible to chuck Hail Marys on every play and win a football game. It is theoretically possible. So yes, but usually it's the teams that are good at blocking and tackling that win the football games. So generally speaking, there's exceptions. The most successful entrepreneurs, I believe this because I've seen it myself too, are the most risk-averse people.
And how did accounting training and experience in particular?
Well,
I led you to this very... if you manage to listen to the end, you
exactly.
you deserved all these insights. Jacob, thank you so much.